Problems in software can often be traced back to things that happened in the beginning. Documentation is one way of solving the problem, but I've been a great believer that a picture tells 1,000 words. So for years I've been using an awesome tool called Balsamic. Now, when the TFS team told me that they had included storyboarding functionality in the latest version of TFS, I was pretty excited. So come join me on a journey with Justin Marks, who does a great demo of the storyboarding functionality. You'll see it's done in PowerPoint, but I think you're going to be blown away. So tell us a bit about yourself, Justin.
I'm Justin. I've been at Microsoft for 9 years now. I've worked on a whole variety of products from MSN originally when I first came to Microsoft out of college, moved over to Windows and worked on Vista for 4 years. And then before coming to TFS, I was on Visual Studio working on IntelliTrace, and I did that for the last product cycle.
Okay. So you married?
Yes, I am. I've got a beautiful wife and a 2-year-old daughter, so
fantastic.
They're what I do whenever I'm not working on storyboarding, so to speak. So.
Oh, good. All right. Well, they can understand what you do now.
They very much can, and my parents and grandparents, that kind of makes sense. A little bit different than previous things I've worked on. So.
Okay. So what did you do at MSN? Like MSN Messenger?
So I worked on MSN Messenger and MSN.com as a systems engineer, where I was actually doing the live site operations. So I was the one with the pager in the middle of the night that would get woken up whenever the site was down, and customers like you might have had some inconsistencies with the availability of the site. So.
Right.
Very different from working on designing of
And what did you do for Vista?
And for Vista, I'm happy and somewhat unhappy to say I worked on performance of the Windows shell for the Vista product cycle. Yes.
So you had an easy job then?
Oh, yes.
You didn't do much.
Yeah. Imagine what it would have been without our team working on it. We actually had a very hard struggle throughout the product cycle, as most of our customers know. But one of the things we very successfully proved is how important performance is and how much our customer base really cares about it as a #1 feature. It shouldn't be an afterthought, and we helped drive that for Windows 7, which I like to think it was a pretty big success from a performance perspective.
Definitely was. So the initiatives that you got going in Vista,
we carried that forward through
Right.
Win 7. I actually moved from a testing position in Vista to a PM position where I was able to drive throughout the entire product unit.
So
performance
that's interesting, because that means that during Vista, although we saw it as slow, it was actually starting to get into good shape because you'd set up a team and you were addressing it.
Exactly. It was definitely one of those things we were still learning. We had a very large security push late in the 90s on across Microsoft, and performance has now been the new thing, and our team helped pioneer some of the efforts for using ETW and some of the performance tools like the Visual Studio Profiler.
ETW?
ETW, event tracing for Windows. It's one of the technologies baked into Windows for being able to do low-level kernel tracing as well as user mode tracing of events.
Right.
And we're able to get very rich tracing information as well as timing information of the system. So we help drive features into that product unit, as well as being able to leverage those to be the performance for the product itself.
So you went from that team to the TFS team?
Well, I went actually through Visual Studio. I was working in Windows on performance, obviously, and one of our key tools to help us solve performance problems was the Visual Studio Profiler. And I built a very good relationship with that team, and they started to see some of my skill set and said, hey, we'd love you to come over to this side and help work on some of our diagnostics tools. Instead of being the user of the tools, why didn't you go and implement some of the new features?
Right, okay.
And that's what brought me over to the Visual Studio family.
So you're essentially a consumer just like us, and then you join the team.
It's a great way. Once you start using it, you've got some feedback, and you might as well put your money where your mouth is and actually go make it better. So.
And so when you came across, did they say you'll be doing storyboarding?
No. When I first started for Dev 10, we weren't working on the requirements scenario and storyboarding. I was doing IntelliTrace, and I did a lot of work there around the UI for the IntelliTrace feature in Visual Studio Ultimate. And then when we transitioned after shipping Visual Studio 2010 to the new product cycle for Dev 11, as we call it, I moved over to TFS to take on the storyboarding, because I thought that was a pretty interesting perspective. I've been working a lot on developer-based tools, and I wanted to try to be a little more on the product owner tools that would help people like me in other companies.
Okay, so we got going on storyboarding.
Yeah.
I got to ask, because I was pretty surprised, how did you end up, who thought of going to PowerPoint as a platform instead of, because I wanted a web version, like Balsamic.
Yep.
And then I saw this, and Brian Harry said, oh, check this out. I go, I want it in the browser, and then I tried it, and it worked beautifully, and I thought, oh, actually, It's more than presentations.
Exactly. I mean, we had a very, very hard struggle internally. We had a good idea in our minds of what we wanted to accomplish and be able to give users storyboarding, but when it comes to implementing that very rich functionality in a single product cycle, we had to get a little creative about how we were going to go do it. We had some opportunities to possibly build it in Silverlight on the web, and we were investigating that for a while, but we quickly realized to get all of the rich functionality we need for a tool such as Balsamic, one of our key competitors, we need a lot of layout engines, we need a way for presenting your storyboards at the end, saving them, versioning them, a whole host of functionalities just for rich text even might not fully exist in Silverlight, and we'd have to build that from scratch. So we started, of course, we're in Microsoft, a rather large company. We wanted to find out what else was out there. Sketchflow was one avenue we looked at, and we can talk a little bit about where we differ.
Sure.
And we realized, we went back to who is our customer, and our key customer here, we internally call her Angie. She's like the persona we think of, but it's a product owner. And the key functionality of product owners, or the key feature that product owners have on every one of their boxes, is the Office suite of tools. So we started to think a little bit more creatively, how could we leverage that suite to give a rich set of features? And that's really how we landed on PowerPoint.
Wow.
So Brian wasn't 100% sure of it, and it was up to the team to prove to him that we really knew what we were talking about and that we would be able to build a successful product. And we give it a run, and hopefully you'll think it's as good as we think it is.
So I did an interview with Brian before, and I asked him, was it easy to get him to change his mind? And he used this as an example, and just need a few usability labs and
just a few. We had some interesting discussions there, but I think we landed in the right place for our customers, which is really all that matters at the end.
So you want to kick it off and show us?
Absolutely, I'd love to take it a run for you.
I would like you to storyboard an order form that has order details. Let's pretend I'm Mr. Northwind, my favorite example.
Okay.
So Mr. Northwind, I just need an order form with a grid on the bottom. So when you click on something, I'd like to see some transitions or put some notes in. I'd like to be able to walk through a PowerPoint so I know, so I'm indicating where people are clicking, and maybe just a Lightbox pop up. You know, Lightbox? So when I click on it, details, how's this for specs on the fly?
Sure, I think we can get that. I mean, it'd be great if it was on a whiteboard, but that's what we're going to be able to just do right here.
Right. Okay.
All right. I will start with our backlog, because that's, as product owners, this is our home base where we live and breathe every single day. I'm actually going to load that up. Here we are from our team backlog. And on my backlog, I'll put a story here. Actually, I already have one for ordering a product. That sounds like the right story that we're going to go after.
How's that?
So I'll open this up, and of course, like any other TFS work item, I can go in and put all my descriptive text, but we don't want to talk too much about text here. We want to just get right into those rich pictures.
Yes.
This is more for my acceptance criteria after I know what I'm building. So I've got a new storyboards tab, and right from here I could start storyboarding.
Right.
So I'll click that, and PowerPoint will open right up. And I'm already brought into my storyboarding mode right away. And
That's a nice hook into the feature.
Oh yes, it's been pretty cool that we're able to, especially going from the web, launching client-side tools.
Very nice.
Which is
do you also do that from Visual Studio, from the work items?
Yes, from Visual Studio you get the exact same experience. Right. But from our customer segment, most of them are going to be web users in this case. So we really wanted to make that the richest experience possible. So you're here, I've got my nice welcome screen. I know this, so I don't really need that, but I'm going to start building my brand new website. Okay. So right away I want to just get myself a background. In this case it'll be a web browser, and I'm brought that up real easily. I want to give it my site name, and you said, what's my Northwind Corporation?
Yep, Northwind order form. How's that?
Okay. Order form is our page, and we're going to go here. We'll put our http northwind.com order.aspx, because we're .NET developers.
Oh, we got to do
really quickly.
MVC, ASPX.
It's all part of ASP.NET. It's ASP.NET MVC. So
I want a nice URL. Actually, this is part of the requirements. Get rid of the ASPX and put /123.
Sure.
Yep, that's my order.
Okay.
Cool. Yep.
So we've got our nice background here, and I'm probably going to want to put some sort of header at the top. So because I'm in PowerPoint, I'm going to build some nice shapes right away.
Just use the normal stuff.
It's PowerPoint. It's got all the functionality. I've got a nice little star here, which I can put in, and this will be our Northwind logo. We can move that over here, or maybe I want to have some really nice text. So we can just insert a bunch of text right there.
Order form.
Wind order form.
We don't need north wind in this case.
Yeah, just order form. That seems like a good text, and we'll just bump up that
Great.
font there, make that larger, color it. Actually, I want to align it so these things are actually aligned properly and look good. So I can do that real quickly with the built-in functionality of alignment built into PowerPoint.
Yeah.
I can give this even shadows if I really wanted to, because it is a nice text object, so I can go build some reflections of that. And we can put some, actually we can just do some canned text. We'll do one of these canned styles. There it goes. That looks nice.
So Justin, you've turned into quite the PowerPoint expert doing this project.
And the more you know about PowerPoint, the more you get to learn. And it's amazing how rich PowerPoint is for functionality. Now, one of the things I'm guessing from this is not the only web page we're going to be doing. There's going to be some other stuff in the storyboard. So this is kind of like my root background, so to speak. And I want to take this and I want to leverage this across multiple pages. And I don't want to have to every time, let's say it's an order form, I want to capitalize all of the words because that's our standards in the company. I don't want to have to do that on multiple slides. So what I can do is I can just select all of the elements here, and I can go from our storyboarding tab to create a new background. And I can call this my order form background. And now when I build a slide, we can add it to the existing one, sorry. There we go.
So
now,
I didn't follow what you just did.
So I'd already leveraged a background in the back. My web browser form here, this outer border, was already in the background. If you're a PowerPoint user, you'd know this is a master page.
Master page, yeah.
But most users don't know about master pages. They think it's a background. And we want to be able to give that functionality to our customers as well without having them to be fully PowerPoint experts. We still want them to have that ability. So what I've done here is I've taken these objects that I put on the page and I sent those to that master page. So it's not in my foreground. I can't select them.
So why don't you just use the master pages? I understand they're slightly different.
Oh, we just renamed the button. That's all it is. We are using the master pages. We're leveraging PowerPoint, but we're putting it in the words of a storyboarding tool.
Right.
So this, and we've done that in a lot of different places across storyboarding. We will re-leverage PowerPoint as much as possible.
So can I go to master pages now?
Absolutely. So if I was to go here, I can go edit current. This is the same as edit master page. You'll notice it's right there.
Yep.
You've got your master layout with the background of the browser. You've got a sub layout of that, including our objects. I can move those around. I can do whatever I want to those, and I'm good to go.
And you can close the master page.
Exactly. So if I wanted to make multiple pages, I could just go now, put a new slide, choose my layout, and there's my slide again. So I can have two places, and if I make a change in the master page, it'll obviously cascade to all of my pages there.
Got it.
So we've got that going. We probably want to have some sort of object that I'm searching for here.
Well, I want some text boxes.
Some text boxes. But you know what? I really want to get some nice pictures here. And I'm just going to go to the Microsoft Store.com website, just grab a product, just as a placement here. And we'll go have a copy of Win 7. We were talking about that earlier. And that looks like a nice product picture to me. So what I'd like to do is actually capture a screen capture of that. I can do that as well.
Yep.
I can just go take a screenshot and I'll do a screen clipping. Pop that in there. That looks pretty good. And now there's my product.
Not many PowerPoint users know that feature, by the way.
So again, right on the storyboarding tab, it's one of those things that you're going to be able to use. If you had a clip art or some picture right off the background, it's there. So you don't have to be digging through all these 20 some odd ribbons and different features inside of PowerPoint.
You put all the main things that you think they'll use.
Exactly.
You nicked them off PowerPoint.
All right here on the storyboarding ribbon. So you'll see some of our functionality, like the storyboard shapes library, which is a new task pane that we've built full of shapes. So maybe I want a data grid. Sure enough, there it is. I can drag and drop that onto my page, get a whole bunch of information there. Maybe I want an add to cart button, so I can search for button through our thing there. Drag that button, add to cart. I can even find some icons in here, so if I wanted a cart icon, do a quick little search there, drag that on there. I can add this or expand this by just a PowerPoint shape, so I can just resize that without any problem.
So is it going to be very generally black and white looking, like Balsamic?
So that's our default view right now. We are looking at ways of extending this and adding some more theming and color to your shapes. Some of the shapes are very black and white, but there are other ones that we've included. So something like a sticky note we've added here, which is rather colorful, and we're still working through that. Right now, we've gotten some pretty good feedback from customers saying they like the higher fidelity than we have, that sketchy look that you see in Balsamic. It's a little bit higher fidelity with what we have. It is a bit gray, black and white, but maybe we have customers that say they really want full color. we have the full ability to extend our shape library.
Right.
So we're planning on having an online presence where you'll be able to download more shapes and be able to have different skins to them. In addition, in this case, maybe I'm a company like T-Mobile.com or whatever your local cell phone provider is. They have their own theme to all of their objects, so all of their buttons maybe are pink. And they want to be able to take this add to cart button and they say, you know what, it's really supposed to be a pink button. So I'll go put that in there right now. We'll go pick a color. It's a nice pink color for our button.
Yep.
Or I just did the edge, not the full button. We'll do shape fill and we'll do pink. There we go. So the shape, and that's my way I want the buttons.
Can you right click on that and change the color?
Yep, you can right click and you can go here to format shape and change it.
Or
Or from the ribbon.
You've got these guys here
exactly,
as well.
you've got these, you've got
all
it's
the normal
PowerPoint,
stuff.
everything you can do from 3 different places.
Okay, so
Maybe this is now an object that my company care about, and I want multiple. Maybe you're another product owner on some other team inside of my company, and I want you to be able to put this add to cart button. I can just go to my storyboard ribbon, add this to my shapes. This is now a shape inside of the library, just like any other shape. So I can go export these to a file, give this to you, and you can load this into your version of PowerPoint and be able to put a button just like this. So we can have a designer, let's say, design a whole bunch of controls that are company-based controls and share them with the entire team. So you can have your own standards for how those storyboards look.
quite nice.
So we've got this button, we've got a data grid, we can put some additional text.
Is there going to be third-party libraries that I can grab some?
Absolutely. We're going to have a website where it'll probably be off of VS Gallery is what we're thinking right now. Just like you can download new controls for Visual Studio, you'll be able to download controls for PowerPoint storyboarding.
So there's going to be a third-party market out there?
Absolutely. I can just imagine somebody says, you know what, you've got Windows Phone inside the box, maybe we want an iPhone set.
Right.
They go put that up on the market, they maybe make some money off of that, and they can always extend what we have.
And the obvious extension points are Telerik, DevExpress, and Infragistics for the libraries for their own products.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So we can put some more text here. So we'll call this the Windows 7. So we've got some nice things here, and probably we want to have some action happen when we add to cart. So again, it's PowerPoint. I want to do some cool stuff. So maybe I want to have my mouse pointer.
That's important for me, so that you can put the click on a part, and then the next screen shows.
The PowerPoint's got animation, so let me just add that animation right now. So I'll open that animation. I'll say I want to use a custom path, and I want this mouse cursor to go from here. Oops. My computer's freezing for a second. This is beta software. We're still working on it, but my computer's been a little sluggish today. Oh, I don't know what happened there. Let's do it again. There it goes, custom path. And show the animation pane. So we can make that work one more time.
So is this a built-in thing?
Yeah, this is just built-in functionality of PowerPoint. So I can build a custom path. I just draw my line over exactly where I want it to go.
Ah, right.
And now that mouse button will move.
Oh, goodness.
And if I wanted to, I can even have a click sound when I get to the end of it, because it's just part of PowerPoint there.
All right, so can we, all right. So now you would copy that PowerPoint to the next slide.
Exactly.
To show what it's now going to look like after you click it.
Again, it's PowerPoint, so I can just take the slide, duplicate it. I've got my second one here.
Yep.
Maybe I don't want to have my mouse cursor move on this one. It's already on the button.
You wouldn't need it. You just need to put you need to put a record in there.
Exactly. Maybe I want to have like a little fancy little tooltip or dialogue just for argument's sake. I want to put a little dialogue when it comes up. So we'll pop that up. The dialogue comes up and it'll say something like...
So this is my Lightbox.
Yep.
Yeah, beautiful.
Added to cart, and we can add another text box in there. Thank you for adding the item to the cart. Please check out, I don't know.
Put that down the bottom.
We'll make this nice line. Now, one of the nice things is we've got all the alignment features of PowerPoint. So you'll notice that you're getting those nice little snapping grids.
Yep.
So it makes it very, very easy there. You've got all the alignment from PowerPoint in general, so that's all nice.
One of the things I often use is a green tick and a red cross. You got those out of the box?
Yep.
Oh, you got a yes for everything.
There's our little, this is our version of it. Actually, this is coming right from the Windows Phone SDK for all those Windows Phone developers. All of the icons you have that you can use in your product are still here inside of the PowerPoint library as well. So here's our add and cross, the official ones that are part of the Metro UI. You know what, I'm anal, so I want to make sure these things are aligned correctly. We'll align those together. We'll distribute the width of those things. Actually, we don't even need to. They're fine the way they are.
So what about the green tick? Do we have a tick?
So
And a red
you-
cross?
the little checkbox.
I want a green tick and a red cross.
So I can turn those by using the coloring here. I can change
that's a
those
plus,
colors.
not a tick.
So you want the
I want a
check?
tick.
You're saying tick. This one.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right, fine.
There we go.
That's
We've
what
got
I
all
want.
those,
Okay.
and we can change the colors just like
Yeah.
any other
Okay.
PowerPoint shape.
Got it.
But now you know what you were saying. You wanted a light box. I'm seeing all of the stuff outside of my border here.
Yeah, I
so
want it kind of
want to dim
dimmed,
that out. So what we can do here is we can just insert a pretty large box on the screen. We'll just insert a regular PowerPoint shape, just a square box. We'll snap it to the size of the screen. We'll go and we will format that, and we'll make the fill a gray. And we can actually just apply transparency on that. So we want it to be, what, 30% transparent, something like that.
Wow.
And we'll just send that backwards.
Yeah. So I'm pretty amazed. Everything I've asked you so far on the fly, you can find it.
It's all here in PowerPoint, and we've anything we thought of with storyboarding that's not in PowerPoint, we added ourselves, and it's all right there on the storyboarding ribbon. Now, one of the other things is we didn't even have to make other slides. We could have kept this all in one slide and just used PowerPoint animation to make it appear. So, if we wanted to,
I
we would
wouldn't
like-
want that because I would. Well, this begs the next question. We've got a series of slides now. What do we do? Do we turn each one of those into a task, or do we turn each one of these into a user story?
Okay, that's a good question. I mean, this is something that we argue a lot about internally, and from usability testing, this customers have their own impressions for every customer has a different way of doing this. Some customers say, I want a single slide to represent a single user story. It's one
Most of the time,
report.
that's what I'm thinking
That's
I'd
a
want,
pretty
yeah.
common thing. Some people, like myself, when I'm developing a very large storyboard, I'm going to go build 6 or 7 slides to depict a very long story. I'm going for storyboarding. That's how we actually built this. It was not
sounds
just
like
a
an
single
epic.
slide. It's an epic.
Yeah.
And inside the epic, there are multiple user stories, and each story is multiple tasks.
Yep.
You can do that too. We don't give you a way to break down the storyboard and say slides 1 and 2 are this story. We can say the storyboard is associated with the story with a link.
Right.
Long term, we definitely want to get there. We haven't
Right.
reached that point
So
yet.
at this point in time, the simplest way is to have, rather than one monolithic PowerPoint with
Just
everything,
break it
just
up into
have lots of
smaller.
small ones that can be the user story essentially.
And we can just put this thing right now on SharePoint.
Well, if that's the current thing, I guess what I would think would be the next step is to put the current slides as tasks in the user story. And
Yes.
I'll keep them small.
Absolutely. And because I want to share this now, I've kind of finished all of your requirements. We're just going to go put this up here, the Atom storyboard.
Why did I have to select that? Why can't it know based on that I've opened it from the web browser?
It won't know where your default location is. That's PowerPoint has its own mechanism for remembering the last. That's kind of like an MRU. Remember the
Right.
last location you saved. We didn't want to overwrite some of the functionality of PowerPoint when it comes to the save mechanism.
Yeah.
So if the last place you saved it, it'll still go there. We didn't do that. We have gotten some feedback, and it's something we're considering doing for
'Cause
post-beta.
that's different to when you use Excel.
Exactly.
When you use Excel, it opens up nicely.
Yep.
You can use it. I know it's a slightly different metaphor because you're connecting to existing data,
Exactly.
but it's almost like it'd be nice if you just created the PowerPoint first, put it there, then open it.
Yeah, so that's actually something we have considered. We had that built. It just felt a little odd putting these blank PowerPoints up on your SharePoint site and dirtying up the site. If we get enough customer feedback, we definitely can bring that back. We're trying to err on we want to make sure users are in control of their data. They control what appears where, especially on public internally facing SharePoint sites. We don't want to have a whole bunch of blank presentations.
Right, but if you don't save it in the right spot, you're not going to see it back on the work item.
Oh, you absolutely will.
You
So
will?
you can pick any spot, any shared location,
Oh,
whether it be a
okay.
shared drive or a SharePoint, and as soon as I click save, it'll remember the fact that it was created from a work item, and it's going to tell you, hey, do you want to make that link back to that TFS work item at this point? Because it's been saved, we can make that link now.
Right, can
So we
I
say,
just
yep.
give you a tiny bit of feedback on this
Please.
dialogue? That question mark, it's a small thing, but we don't use that anymore.
Yeah.
It's outside the guidelines. You're meant to either use the important, the exclamation, or the information.
We actually have a work item, a story to actually redo this whole dialogue. We want to be able to do some really rich things that we can't do right now.
Right.
I would not imagine that this is going to be the final dialogue.
Fantastic.
That's a very good point with the icon. We'd like also this to be a hyperlink to the
Yes,
user story.
perfect.
So we definitely think there's room for improvement there. So once I save that off there, I can also pull up my Storyboard Links task pane or dialog, and that'll show me all of my links. If I double click on this,
right.
it'll just go back to TFS Web Access, and if I look at my Storyboard tab, there's that link. So anyone that's looking at this work item is able to get access, assuming they have access on the SharePoint site or the share to where it's stored, get right back to that storyboard, double-click it, and you bring it right back to PowerPoint. One of the really nice things about using SharePoint and PowerPoint is SharePoint has all of the Office web companions. So if this is on a SharePoint 2010 server, you don't even need to have PowerPoint locally on your server. You can just view it right in the browser, which is a really nice feature that we get for free by using PowerPoint.
Well, that's awesome, Justin. I've really enjoyed that. I knew it was good, but it's good seeing you do it.
Well, I'm glad. Hopefully you'll give us a lot of feedback, and everybody else that's watching this will give us some more feedback on the user voice side and let us know what you like and what you don't like, and we can continue to iterate.
Yeah. Can I ask, this has seen a fair bit of success straight away.
Yep.
People seem to like it instantly. I did. It sounds like PowerPoint could almost be a platform. So the architecture stuff, which often I see architects doing it inside PowerPoint, I've always thought of it as a dirty workaround. I didn't take much notice of it. But now I see the success of storyboarding in PowerPoint. That's an obvious next...
Absolutely. If we got enough customer in, we can take our UML diagrams and we can go bring them to PowerPoint as well. As we've started to learn more as we use PowerPoint as a platform, it's really incredible what other Microsoft technologies can be used to apply and solve new and interesting problems with it. So we're excited about it.
So Justin, can I get you to just go to Google and search...
Google? You're not really. You don't
Bing, whatever.
Bing.
All right, and search SSW storyboarding. I just want to put this in context because things change a bit. You're the first one, yep. This is something that I've preached for some time, and the example here we're talking about, directors in films. They have a storyboard first off that shows them how you step through the scene, so they know to order a boat and they know what they're going to need for the scene to work.
It does help your prop master and costume designers.
So we didn't invent the concept of storyboarding, did we?
No.
But the interesting thing is, if you go down a page, that we've got a few different varieties here. We've got hand-drawn mock-ups, which we'll probably still use, and then we've got your wireframe, essentially. This is, I'm envisaging that you'll replace as the default choice here. Once you get past that, the next step is to break it down in the work item, and then you may, before bothering about HTML, you may do a Photoshop mock-up, which would give you the look and feel.
Yeah, the pixel perfect representation of the
and you only need one screen of that. And then from that point, the final thing, once the customers sign that off, is to finally get down a bit lower to the UML stuff.
Yep.
So that's keep going.
Yeah.
Yep. There. So that would give you that context of how that. So I guess I got one final question on that stuff. If you go up a little, one of the things that I like to do is give some little notes. See the 1, 2, 3. Have we got that ability?
So the callouts, we call them callouts. We don't have them today in PowerPoint. It's on our backlog. It's just a new set of shapes that we need to make. Right. Our question right now, PowerPoint itself has callouts built in their shape library. We're trying to figure out what the balance is of how much we just trust people to go to the shapes library in PowerPoint versus what we go in our shapes pane. We know that there will be some set of callouts inside of our pane. If you look in PowerPoint, I even have one that I've created myself called a corner callout, where I can just drag that onto the corner of my page, kind of like, hey, this is like the page representing feature A or feature B. We can imagine there's a huge number of different callouts we can just add as new shapes into this library. And again, once we have the third party, if it's not there and you think there's a need for it, you go make it, you export it, and you put it up on the website, and other people can take advantage of it.
So can I just summarize with, because most people will still be trying to get in their heads, PowerPoint versus the web, what is the benefit of being in PowerPoint, and what is something that Balsamic does better than what you guys do?
Sure, so I'll start with that one first. Balsamic is a fantastic product. It's been one of the best storyboarding tools out there. By being their own tool, they've had to do everything from scratch, something we were trying to avoid since we had only one product cycle to get this done. But they do some really rich things. So for instance, if you have a checkbox, you are able to check the checkbox. That's not something we're able to do today with PowerPoint. There's no statefulness to the shapes. It's just a shape. To interact with the shapes, Balsamic does a great job. A perfect example is where they have a tab control. And if you want to add a new tab, you just type in the name of that tab and it just appears as a new tab.
Right.
In PowerPoint, it's a shape. There are 4 tabs is what we built out of the box. You have to add and delete manually. we definitely want to get there. It's just another story that's further down in our backlog.
Okay. All right. So
what we do on the opposite end of it, because it's PowerPoint, you get all of the rich functionality of PowerPoint. You saw how many things like the screenshot insertion or other shapes that we just inherited from PowerPoint. All of our alignment functionality, rich text editing, all of that's something that you get for all PowerPoint presentations. In addition, there's presentation mode. I can take this PowerPoint that I've created, and at the end of the day, I just press F5, and this is a complete working application with a workflow. So I can show, okay, we've
so you're
got
ready
the
for the
mouse
boardroom
moving.
presentation?
Exactly. I go to Brian Harry and say, hey, Brian, here's the next feature we're going to build for TFS. And he has a really good view of what it's going to look like, as opposed to other tools where you have to then take screenshots and put it into PowerPoint or put it into Word docs, and it's not as rich of a functionality. So we love working with PowerPoint here.
So did you bring something to the... So I assume the PowerPoint team was happy to work with you.
Oh, absolutely.
They're going to potentially get a massive new audience of enthusiasts and more feedback than they'll handle.
And we'll sell a few extra copies possibly. You never know.
That's right. So did you bring anything to the table where you found flaws or things that you needed fixed?
Absolutely. I mean, as PowerPoint has been around for a long time, they've got a very rich object model for interacting with PowerPoint, the application, as well as with the OpenXML file format. We've worked with them on both of those as we run into issues, and they've been incredibly helpful. Of course, we've run into bugs in the OM. For instance, one of the things the object model. One of the things we wanted to be able to do was we want notification or some sort of Windows message event whenever an object gets resized, because their resize mechanism is a one-size-fits-all solution. They just scale any shape as they put it down on the screen, which works in a lot of cases well. But if you have something like a scroll bar, which is really multiple shapes, it's kind of two buttons and a bar, in theory, put together, if you were to stretch that vertically and horizontally in the diagonal fashion, you don't want the bar to get wider and get fatter as well as get taller. Really, you just want the bar to be a little bit taller. That was something we didn't get the feature, like you don't get that out of the box. We had to make a request of them to add those messages. They won't be able to do it for previous versions, but they definitely, because it doesn't really meet the bar for service packs, but they're definitely put it in the next version of Office.
That's one of the problems with service packs. They won't put new features in service
Unless
packs.
it's security and really hurting people, it's kind of hard to be able to get that feature into PowerPoint.
The notification you wanted was when they resized, you wanted to be able to cancel the resize. Is that what you're saying?
Exactly. We want to be able to override their resize mechanism with our own.
Oh, got it. All right, and talking about competitors, Sketchflow.
Yeah.
Weren't they saying, what the hell, why don't you just use ours?
They're not exactly a competitor, they're all under the same vice president. We actually had a lot of discussion, should we use them as a platform, and we quickly realized there's a difference in the technology set that is needed to use the two tools, as well as how approachable they are. Everyone knows how to use PowerPoint. Yes. Every product owner's got it on their box. To go Sketchflow route, it'd be another product you have to buy, and on top of that, learn how to use it. It's not as easy to approach.
It's essentially designers getting into it.
Exactly. Yeah. It's a designer-based tool. It's great for changing your CSS and style to Silverlight controls. I mean, it's part of the Expression Blend suite. We do think there's some really rich things that it does. For instance, being able to get you to a XAML code base to be able to start working with your project, which PowerPoint doesn't. This is a PowerPoint presentation.
That's right.
So we are working with them to build that, that flexibility and that integration between the two products, where you'd be able to take a PowerPoint, import that into Sketchflow, and you'd have a working executable from that, and you can have that to your developers and they can iterate from there.
Let me get this right. You're going to have the next step from here to export out to Sketchflow, and then from Sketchflow I can do more stuff until it's really nice, and then from that point can I generate...
Sketchflow is all code, so all the developer has to do is all of their logic behind that code at that point. When you click the button, the following things happen.
They currently export out to XAML.
Exactly.
And then the developers can start working. What we need is to export out to HTML5.
Yep, and I'm sure with all the new Win8 stuff, that's Win JavaScript and HTML based, that's something they're considering as well.
Right.
So that's something. Go talk to them and hear more about what they're planning. So.
Yeah, so that's the nice workflow. So we get from storyboarding to the designers in Sketchflow. It's a nice story. So then we end up to the developers.
And it's a better together story. We aren't cannibalizing their market base. They're not going to say we're going to be doing the same thing you are. There is a separation of what our focus is, a separation of who our customers are, but they do work well together.
Right. Okay. Well, that's quite compelling. So I might finish off I'd like to know maybe a book, your favorite book, or someone that inspires you or something.
Well, I don't know when this is going to actually get put on the web, but actually one of my favorite books is being turned into a movie on Friday. It comes out, Moneyball, which is a book by Michael Lewis all about how the Oakland Athletics transformed the way baseball players are evaluated in the Major League Baseball here in America. And they started using computer model statistical analysis to evaluate those players in a very different way than players were evaluated before, and be able to take a team that doesn't have the budget of the Yankees, let's say, or the Red Sox, who've got multi-million dollar budgets, and buy much cheaper players, but still be able to win baseball games. Very cool about how technology is able to help a great sport like baseball.
Baseball, it's you count the home runs, right?
Pretty much, yeah. Everyone thinks about it. It's whoever has the most runs wins. But there are a lot of other things that really matter in games, like how many people can steal bases, because the more people you have on base, the more runs you possibly can make with all the runs, with all home runs and better hits. And there's a whole bunch of different statistics of things that no one ever thought of from a defensive perspective. How important is their defensive ability?
Well, Justin, it's been fascinating seeing this.
Thank you.
Great to meet you.
Great seeing you too.
And this is Adam Kogan. Until next time, see you later. Before you go, I've got a task for you. Go to tv.ssw.com and subscribe to our newsletter. You'll be informed of all upcoming videos. In addition, if you're super keen, I'm all about inspecting and adapting. So send me an email or send me a tweet @Adam Kogan. Cheers.